first video in a series on writing equations of lines. There are two basic forms of lines that are used commonly. One is called the standard form of a line, and that's ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are integers and a must be positive. There's another form, which is a more useful form, called slope-intercept form, and that is y equals mx plus b. This is what I call good graphing form. If you've already done graphing of lines, then you know what this one's good for. But oftentimes you are asked to write your answers in standard form, so you've got to be able to write one form in the other and vice versa. So that's what this video is going to be about. It's just going to be a matter of switching from one form to the other. So we want to write this equation in standard form. Keep in mind this is your standard form, so we need to manipulate this around so that it looks like this. You have two choices, and I'll show you both ways on this, and you just do what you want. Nobody says you really have to have the ax and the by on the left side, but we're going to do it that way to begin with. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. By subtracting 3x from both sides, that moves the x term over here, so I have negative 3x plus y equals 5. Now I put the x term in front because that's what I want. I could have written y minus 3x, but that wouldn't be the form I want. The thing here is, this is not a positive in the front. One of the rules for standard form is that this x term, this first term, needs to be positive. So I'm going to make it positive. But if I make it positive, I have to change all of these signs correspondingly. So I'm going to make it positive, but I'm going to make this negative and make this negative, which gives us 3x minus y equals negative 5. And that is my standard form for this equation right here. Now another option up here would have been to move stuff to the other side. I could subtract y from both sides. And that gives me 0 over here, but that's okay. This now says 3x minus y plus 5. Next thing, get rid of that 5. Subtract 5 from both sides, and that gives us negative 5 equals 3x minus y, which is standard form. If you feel better and you really want this over on the left side, well then swap it around and you get this right there. So your choice on how you do the problem. And on these I'm going to do right here, I'm going to do some one way and some the other. I think the easier thing is, because this is a positive x and I'm going to want it to be positive, the easier thing is to subtract your y from both sides, which is going to give us 0 equals 2x minus y minus 7. All I need to do now is send that 7 back over to the other side. Add 7 to both sides, and I've got 7 equals 2x minus y. If your book or your teacher insists upon it, then you just swap it around and put the 2x minus y on the left side and keep your 7 over on the right side. Now this has got a negative y, it's got the 3x as a positive over here, and this is pretty easy to do. All I need to do here is add y to both sides, and boom, I'm done. This is 3x plus y over here. The y's have canceled out here. I have 6. I'm done, unless you have to rewrite it as 3x plus y equals 6. Now this is where it gets sticky for some students with the fractions. Some people freak when they see a fraction. Well, the whole idea, and you've done this before with equations, if you have fractions in the equations, get rid of them. So you see this 1/3 in front of the x. This is where you're going to want to multiply everything by that denominator of 3. So 3 times y becomes 3y. Over on this side, the 3's will cancel out, and I have x, or 1x, minus 6. Don't forget to do that whole number over here. When you're going to do 3 times everything, that means everything. So with one little move, I've gotten rid of the fractions. And now I'm going to get my x's and y's together on the same side. I'm also going to do this a teeny bit more quickly. I'm going to do two things at once. I'm going to subtract 3y from both sides. And at the same time, because I know I want that 6 to go to the other side, I'm going to add 6 over here. So what that does is, those cancel out. I have this 6 sitting here where I want it. I have these canceling out, and there's x minus 3y. So that's probably the quickest way, but if you're not comfortable doing the 3y and the 6 at the same time, don't. And of course you can rewrite this as x minus 3y equals 6 if that's what you want to do. Another fraction. I have a 4 as a denominator, so I'm going to multiply everything by 4. So 4 times y becomes 4y. Over here the 4's cancel. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. 4 times 4 is 16. In this one, the x is negative, but if I add the 3x to both sides, I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone. I'm moving it to the other side with the y, and by doing that, it has become positive. So I have 3x plus 4y equals 16. Now, the other way is dealing with slope-intercept form. This is what I mentioned before is what I call good graphing form. And the reason this is called slope-intercept form is that staring you in the face is the slope and the y-intercept. The m, which is the number that precedes x, is your slope, and b is your y-intercept. And that was very helpful to you when you learned how to graph. But sometimes you have things written in standard form that need to be rewritten in slope-intercept form. And what this means is we've just got to solve for y. Get this y alone. So let's move the 3x to the other side. Subtract 3x from both sides. That cancels out. That is a negative 2y, not just a 2y. Put this in the right order, negative 3x plus 6. If you have to, keep looking back at the form you want. That's what we want. We want the y by itself on the left side. We want this mx plus b on the right side with the x in front of the b. What's left now is to just divide everything by negative 2. Not just one thing, everything by negative 2. These cancel out, giving you a y alone. You need to clean this up a little bit. A negative divided by negative is a positive, which stays 3/2. Do not change it to a mixed number. Leave it as the improper because that preserves the slope. 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. And that is your slope-intercept form. All right, same kind of problem, almost the exact same steps. Remember what you're trying to do. You're trying to get that y alone. So let's get rid of this other stuff. Subtract 5x from both sides. Those cancel. Negative 3y equals negative 5x minus 9. That's the order I want it in. I want the x part first. And then to get the y alone, undo that multiplying by dividing everything by negative 3. Cancels out, gives you y. A negative divided by negative is a positive 5/3 x. Negative 9 divided by negative 3 is a positive 3. All right, same thing. Let's get it in slope-intercept form. Subtract 2x from both sides. Cancels out, gives us 7y. And keep in mind, these are not like terms. A common mistake is to say 10 minus 2x is 8x, and you can't do that because these are not like terms. All we're doing is moving the x term to the other side. And when it moved to the other side, it became a negative 2x. This is 7y. Divide both sides by 7. Cancels out. We have negative 2/7 x plus 10/7. Sometimes the y-intercept comes out to be a fraction, and that's okay. A lot of times it will come out to be an integer, but this is a fraction, and that's fine. You don't need to rewrite it as a mixed number or anything. That's fine. Last one of these, let's add 4x to both sides. These x's cancel. We have 6y equals 4x plus 12. Divide everything by 6. These cancel. You do need to reduce this. 4 over 6 reduces to 2/3. And 12 divided by 6 is 2. So that's just the first video on switching the forms because it's important for you to be comfortable with both of those forms.